somebody's given the go-ahead for the pit. Here comes the pit, spinning him out of control, doing a 180. He is pushing the pedal to the metal. Another collision with another officer.
Welcome to Viral Twist. He drove like he had 9 lives and a car made of steel, but it was just a Kia. This chase? Absolute madness. Buckle up. It's Viral Twist time.
We're doing well, but as you've already seen, this is, yeah, we sure do, and he is a squirrely one, already showing real signs of desperation. I'm sure you saw that little collision, several collisions in a private parking lot in East LA with these CHP units, then ramming through fences to get back on the freeway. Again, to recap, this is a stolen vehicle out of Compton as we make our way back in Compton. That's always important because when they end up back where they started, it starts to become a little bit more predictable, especially for law enforcement if they're familiar with this particular suspect. In this case, they may or may not be aware of his criminal history or his residence, but they do know this is a stolen vehicle out of Compton, started with LA County Sheriff pursuing him up the 710 freeway, and now California Highway Patrol taking this over on the 5 freeway as he got back on the 710 and is now on surface streets here in Compton, Mark. Eastbound Rosecrans, right through the heart of Compton here. We'll see if he starts to look for either a residential street to turn off of. We'll see how familiar he is with this area if he does that, or he could take it straight through the city of Compton. Look at that, right through a red light, lots of cross traffic there, barely even braking, but he managed to navigate that intersection. But continuing eastbound Rosecrans Avenue, which is seeing relatively light traffic right now, but at these speeds, he's doing about 70 miles per hour on Rosecrans, Mark. So at these speeds, it doesn't really matter. If he comes up on one of these intersections at these speeds, it is a recipe for disaster. You can see occasionally that front bumper making contact with the asphalt, creating some minor sparks there. We'll see if that bumper hangs on. Looks like it's pretty secure except for that front right quarter. But in any event, he is really pushing the pedal to the metal here on Rosecrans Avenue. It's almost, you definitely... Yeah, you get that cat and mouse sense mentality. He got off of Rosecrans onto Willowbrook, then turned around and it just made a very random U-turn. So we've now seen 3 successive U-turns. Here comes a possible pit maneuver. He is certainly doing right about the ideal speed for a pit maneuver. Now, of course, he's going to speed up a little bit, but that was a great opportunity there. And you can see there's not a lot of other collateral in the way here. So a perfect area to execute a pit if they have the opportunity. Fishtail the vehicle out of control, but there he is. He's coming out the other end there, now pulling back on to... Looks like he's back on Alameda, so he is now going, he's back on Alameda, and it doesn't look like they made contact with him. You thought for a second that they were going to pull up right behind him and execute that pit, but it does not look like they made contact with the rear. So in that circumstance, that pit maneuver would actually turn into an escalatory measure with somebody like this, and they don't want to do that. And so that makes a lot of sense. I get that. Now they have a successful spike strip, at least on one side of the vehicle. So if this continues, I imagine they'll set up at least for a spike strip on the left side if they have the chance. If that opportunity arises, I hear there's some chatter about that, so it's a good possibility. But again, those spike strips, when you see them executed well, it's always a little bit of luck too, because you're banking on the suspect following a specific pattern or by happenstance happening to turn and drive right over at any given intersection or what have you. So they are difficult to execute. I think nobody in the country does them as well as law enforcement officers here in Southern California, because the training is so intense and they have so much practice doing it. And so, let's see if they try and spike the left side, because that will really hinder him. I mean, the right tires are gone, but he's still, as the rubber gets chewed off, I imagine eventually those rims will indeed just start to crumble. But that could take a while. I mean, we've seen fully spiked vehicles travel quite a distance in the past. And so, it doesn't always bring it to a stop. Certainly it slows things down, and he was already slow, and he's only really gotten slower in the last 15 minutes. Look at this. I mean, absolutely unnecessary. Actually approaching the vehicle almost as if she wanted to give him a high five. Okay, this is nothing compared to some of the things that we've seen in the past, but that's the type of behavior that could certainly get somebody hurt. It's really, really important that people not try and do things just like that. A clear example of what we were just talking about, have no idea. Maybe they know him, and maybe they know that he's not a threat to them. But that's not the point, right? Because there are so many other factors here. It's just not worth it. The danger is all too real, and now we're seeing more and more people pulled over. These are neighbors. These aren't professional photographers. These are not news media. These are neighbors who are coming out to partake in the commotion out here tonight, and you see a lot more people now with their phones out. Suspect continuing westbound on Compton Boulevard at a snail's pace. Again, only about 25 miles per hour with CHP right behind him, forming a traffic break. So nobody can really come up behind them here to interfere. So they are ready if he does come to a stop. Not seeing many units left in front of him or at any of these intersections, quite frankly, awaiting him. I would have anticipated by now we would have seen another spike strip attempt, but we're not seeing that. Just those 4 or 5 units right behind him with the helicopter overhead. You see the night sun occasionally in the shot there. He is crawling along. Here comes an SUV, an interceptor along his left rear, and somebody's given the go-ahead for the pit. Here comes the pit, spinning him out of control, doing a 180. He is pushing the pedal to the metal. Another collision with another officer. CHP making contact there. He's coming around that light pole. A failed pit after he spun around, did a full 180. Another collision with CHP. He's going to thread the needle right through those officers in the back there, and away he goes. Another pit attempt there to no. Oh man, this is really frustrating for these CHP officers. This could not be more frustrating, quite frankly. After all of that, they saw a clean opportunity for a pit maneuver. Watch commander gives the go-ahead. It looked like a good one, and then he pushes the pedal to the metal, floors it. Not really fast, but certainly made contact with the front end of that one CHP unit, drove around that pole, and is now going eastbound. He's now eastbound on Compton Boulevard. If they see another opportunity, I imagine they're going to try it again. He's coming back for more. Here comes a different unit coming back for another pit attempt if he sees an opportunity. Speeds just under the threshold as he comes up on the double yellow lines, over the paint, through another red light, and we'll see if they try to make contact once again. Here it comes. Left rear, here comes the interceptor, CHP SUV, making contact, a full speed pit maneuver, spinning him at a 360, not enough to disable the vehicle. He continues to go. He's rolling along here, trying to gas the pedal there, but he's not going anywhere fast, but he is certainly continuing here. He is now northbound on Alameda Street. Northbound Alameda, more sparks flying from the front right rim after 2 great pits. Here comes a third pit attempt. This one's going to do it. A full 360. The car still goes. It's continuing. This Kia is refusing to give up on this guy. 3 pit maneuvers in a row. The last 2, a full 360, and he continues this joyride through the streets of Compton. Here comes pit maneuver number 4 along the right rear. SUV making contact. The bumper goes flying. There's the rear bumper, and now they're going to try and box him in. A possible opportunity to box him in, but no, he's still able to run. Gassing it again. He's doing about 5 miles per hour with whatever is left in this car. 5, maybe 10 miles per hour, coming to a slow crawl, and that is probably it. But man, this Kia is relentless. Here comes another possible pit. That would be attempt number 6 in this pursuit. And let's see. He's going to need to pick up a little bit more speed for an effective pit. but he might have the opportunity here. If he goes much above 10 or 50 miles per hour, I would expect to see that interceptor pull right up behind that left rear corner once again. Here it comes. Ooh, a slow speed pit under the overpass. That is Alameda. Alameda and Rosecrans. Here he is. Officers with their guns drawn after he ended up face to face, a full 180 with those officers. Must have been one more pit maneuver down there, and now he is being pulled out of the vehicle, placed under arrest.